So did you ask all the people that you have for month-to-month basis, so you guys specifically contacted
We sought them out, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, with the exception of one artist who we're showing in January, she actually emailed us, and her work was really good, and we just had her come in the other day, and we asked if she wanted a month, and she committed pretty quickly. Yeah. And honestly, it just doesn't usually happen that way. Her work was good, and if it wasn't, then we would have never even wrote her back.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is the ugly reality of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and typically an email is, I mean, it's a really unprofessional way to sort of solicit your work. I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. So you would want like an artist to come in with like a little...
No.
No, nothing?
My advice would be to follow the guidelines. And it's stupid because I know that as I'm saying this, like, we don't even have any guidelines. So you would have to email us, and we would have to read your email, and then we would probably spy on you somehow, like try to find your Facebook or your website if you didn't include it in the email, and we would either decide we liked your work and we want to talk to you about it, or we would decide that we didn't like your work and we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to tell you that we don't want to talk to you. Yeah. That's how most places do it. Yeah. We do send emails to people that we're not interested in showing who've approached us. But I think for us, like, I don't know that we'll ever have, like, I don't know, another thing is, a good example would be, like, this woman, she kind of tried to pressure me into doing, like, an unsolicited portfolio review a couple times, and I will never show her work. It wasn't really good either, but then she was, like, really bossy and kind of nasty with me.
Just like a walk-in? Like...
She just walked in, yeah. I mean, she does get stuff framed here, but... It's such a weird thing because like she's been getting stuff framed here for years and like with the previous owners, but it's the kind of work that we can't really get behind. We're not interested in it. Mm-hmm. Technically speaking, subject matter wise, all the above, but it was really like weird to have this lady come in here and like slam her portfolio on my desk, and I have to explain to her like I'm booked until 2014. I'm not going to commit to a show. And then she like started to get really snippy with me, and I'm like, I can't give you a show. Like I don't know what your work's going to look like in 6 months. I'm not going to show year and a half old work from you a year and a half from now. So don't do that.
So the people that you have picked, do they already have like a specific thing that they're putting in here already mm-hmm. that you want? So they're not like making stuff for a deadline?
People are. Oh, okay. We have somebody who, well, actually we didn't book Andy. Evan Kling, do you know him? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like a good buddy of mine. We'll have his work in here, and he's making that work right now, and he's going to show here in March. Who else? Jenny Sussman, she's probably going to make work specifically for the show. It's the kind of thing where if you book people out in advance, like, you should be making new work. Like, if your show's like 6 months out, you should be making new work for it.
Yeah. But you're not going to be like surprised by like anything,
No.
Like, kind of,
I mean, these are people who they've demonstrated years of consistency in their craftsmanship and their interest, and it's visible,
Yeah. And like all of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Has that ever come up for you, like in any part of your life, where like there's like you're like, oh great, we'll do the show, and then they show up and it's like
something
totally different, and like it's not your taste, and like what does like a gallery do like
when that happens?
Yeah, do they?
I don't know what you can do. I think that's why it's probably a really difficult world to tap into from the perspective of an artist, because my experience is that like artists say they'll show up at 12 o'clock and they show up at 2:30. Mm-hmm. We've been dealing with that for like 2 weeks with this show because people are supposed to be bringing us work. So
good thing we shut up on time.
It's okay. So those things probably do happen, but that's why I guess from a curatorial perspective, you have to be super cautious about who you work with. And like, if somebody approached us with a portfolio of work and say we did look at it and we were entertaining the thought of having a show with them, if they had like 5 pieces from 3 years ago that looked like they were all sculptures, and then 4 pieces from 2 years ago that are all paintings of something completely different, and it seems like they're all over the place and they're not working on something consistent and regular, it would be a big red flag. So it's not to say that as an artist you can't jump materials or jump concepts or themes or anything like that, but I think you have to really see those bodies of work to fruition to a sort of level where you have enough pieces to fill a gallery space with one idea, or one theme or whatever,
It has the same ceiling as the studios.
Oh yeah.
How long have you guys been in here for?
Just 3 months.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you already have all that stuff done? It's awesome.
It's a weird
Is
process.
it overwhelming, all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get days off, and I have nightmares about customers.
Were you doing gallery work prior to being here?
Mm-hmm. Yep, before this I managed a gallery and a frame shop in Amherst, and I didn't really curate there so much. I kind of just dealt with these people that my boss committed shows to because they framed work there, and we want to avoid becoming that because...
Yeah, just letting the people that...
Yeah, and the people, you would exclude so many really awesome, talented people if you mandated that they spend thousands of dollars framing all of their work. But...
Yeah, so that's probably what that woman was, her idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she probably figured because she'd get stuff framed here, we would just put it on a wall. But I worked at Montserrat Gallery for a little while I was in school too, and
Yeah,
that was one of the most invaluable things that I did at the school. I know you guys are on your way out, but if you could ever get yourself into a gallery that's like that, or with somebody who's as intelligent and wise as Leonie is, because the things that I learned there, I wouldn't have been able to go to Northampton and do all this community art project stuff. You have to communicate a certain way with people in order for them to want to be on board with your ideas.
Yeah.
So
that's what you, is that what you wanted to do when you graduated Montserrat? Just curating shows?
I wanted to, yeah. And I had thought about going to grad school for it, but at that time a lot of the programs were really underdeveloped, and there was a lot of really negative criticism about it. Also the fact that it was the word curator doesn't mean what it used to anymore. So it's everybody's a curator. If you are an artist and you know somebody owns a gallery, you can curate yourself into a show.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of corny.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think that's why I actually just had a conversation with somebody about this the other day, where I think the idea of a curator is kind of the title has sort of shifted, so those people kind of refer to themselves as directors, whereas artists who are I'm gonna curate a show in my friend's basement, they'll call themselves curators.
Yeah. Back in I'm still in 1945 because I'm a terrible student. But it's just everyone, all the curators are they just keep talking about how you really have to, how they're just so important and they influence the art world so much, but then nowadays it's just oh yeah, there's that person, they're setting up a show.
Yeah. Curator today means to me kind of a glorified tastemaker. The person with the coolest iPod playlist at the party, and they win. I don't know if people still do that at parties. But yeah, so I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think it's useful to have a position like this where you're running a gallery and you're making these connections for your own work? Is that really helpful? For the sake of getting your own work out there and making those connections for that.
What, to have in physical space?
Or not just that, but having the space.
Oh. Sorry, I gotta grab George because he's gonna write this by a check.